Well, hello, ladies and gents. Robert Sykes, KetoSavage.com, and I'm coming back at you with another AMA. It's been a while since we've done an AMA, so I'm pretty excited about this one. This question is brought to us by Lisa, and it's all about whether to prioritize keto sweet junk food or real food that is not really keto. So, before we dive into that, let's roll the intro. All right, we're back. So Lisa asks, do you think it's better to have a treat that's more keto-friendly, full of sweeteners and fiber, or something like fruit or a paleo treat? This is a tricky question. You're probably going to get a different answer depending on who you ask. So I always recommend prioritizing real, quality, wholesome, nutritious foods. And for that reason, it would be very easy to look at fruit, for instance, which is a whole single ingredient food that's somewhat natural, and assume that would be the better pick of the two. I'm going to play devil's advocate a little bit here, but when you look at fruit, the fruit that we have nowadays is not anything like the fruit that we were seeing 500 years ago. So it's not really like you're comparing apples to apples, pun intended on that one. So I don't necessarily recommend a whole bunch of fruit. I don't really eat any fruit on keto. I'll occasionally have some berries, something that's really low on the glycemic index scale, but you're not going to catch me chowing down on a bunch of plums and pears and peaches and something that's just incredibly high in fructose, because that is not the proper fuel for what you're trying to optimize for if you're following a ketogenic diet. Don't really ever recommend that. That said, that phenomenon has gained quite a bit of traction as of late. You see a lot of carnivores trying to justify a diet really high in fruit and honey, all of which are incredibly high in fructose, which is kind of baffling to me. I don't really understand their reasoning. They have their reasons, and I've listened to their reasons, but it doesn't really make sense. Now, when it comes to whether it's better to do that or to eat a really highly processed, keto junk food with a whole bunch of added sweeteners, like allulose, erythritol, xylitol, just all these sugar alcohols basically, and a bunch of additional fiber filler like chicory root fiber, things of that nature, that's clearly not optimal either. So if you're trying to optimize for a ketogenic diet, trying to find a good vehicle analogy here, then eating a bunch of fruit would be like trying to put diesel in a gas engine. Like, it's just a different fuel. It's not really going to run good, if at all. And if you're running on a gas engine, then having the equivalent of a bunch of keto junk food would probably be like the equivalent of putting gasoline in your vehicle that's been just a really low-grade gasoline that's been recycled a million times, low in octane, and just not really a quality fuel source either. It will still run with the proper fuel source being fat and ketones, but certainly not going to perform at an optimal level. So I'm a purist. I'm one that wants to optimize. I don't seek to find what I can get away with. I seek to find what I can optimize for. So I'm going to deviate from either of those. I'm not going to eat a bunch of fruit, which is going to inhibit my body's ability to optimize on a fuel supply of fat and ketones. I'm also not going to eat a whole bunch of junk food filler keto foods full of sugar alcohols and cheap fillers, because that's not optimal either, and not a good way to justify my caloric intake for the day. Now, when it comes to finding foods that are more convenient, that do satisfy that sweet food craving, then, I'm probably going to sound a little biased here, but I would go for something like the brick. I don't ever recommend making the brick the primary fuel source, but we don't add a whole bunch of crap sweeteners to the brick. We don't add any sweeteners to the brick. The protein that we use has stevia in it, and depending on the flavor, some have monk fruit, but that's not a sweetener that we add in addition to what's already in the protein powder. So there's very little sweetener in the bricks, and the vast majority of it is just simply raw organic foods like the cacao butter, which is just pure raw organic cacao butter. So it is a processed food for sure, but I would go for something like that as opposed to some of these bars out there, some of these keto treats out there that are just not really keto by any definition of the word. And I wouldn't really go for the fruit either, which is going to inhibit my body's ability to prioritize the use of fat and ketones as the primary fuel source. So that's kind of my answer there. Hopefully I didn't beat around the bush too much. But my answer personally would be neither of those two options. I would find something better than both of those two options. So hopefully that answered your question. Hopefully that gave you some clarity. You requested some peanut butter keto bricks, so I will be sending those your way. For anybody that does not know how these AMA Ask Me Anything videos goes, there's a description, or there's a link in the description of this video that has it basically takes you to a Google form. You can submit a well thought out question there, and if I use your question on one of these AMA videos, then I will send you a week's supply of keto bricks with the flavor of your choosing. So you have those coming. I certainly do appreciate it, Lisa. Thanks again for the question. Feel free to submit any of these questions, y'all. I love answering these. I've got a stockpile of them, but I'm always looking for more. So until next time, I'll catch y'all later.